All right, it's MD with Exchange Mastery, and I'm back again. I'm going to show you the easiest way possible to catch a swing trade. So I like to, I like to trade off the weekly, but I'm not taking a trade unless the previous week's candle matches what I'm trying to do now. So basically, like you see here, right? You see that this is a bullish candle. I would not take sales because last week had a lot of bullish momentum. So why the hell would I try to catch sales? No, I'm going to be catching buys. So it's like, let's see. Let me give you a good example. Like, let me take the cross off real quick. Okay, just like this. This is a perfect example. You see right here, right? Price printed a strong bearish candle the week before. All I'm trying to do is catch this wick going off into the previous candle and then write it down. I'm trying to catch the bearish momentum because a lot of times on the charts, whatever the previous previous not even previous week, the previous candle was, most likely it's going to wick into that candle before it flips back to match that candle. Meaning, this is a strong bearish candle. Most likely, it's just going to wick into this candle, basically a pullback before it continues the momentum of the previous candle. See, and for the beginners, I'm just going to say instead of bearish and bullish, I'm going to say red or blue because that's what my chart is showing: red or blue candles. Bullish is blue, bearish is red. So right here, the previous week was a red candle, guys. So most likely, a lot of times, let's say 60 to 80% of the time, if you the previous candle was a red candle, most likely it's going to do a pullback, which is the wick before it continues the momentum of the previous candle. So right here, this is the same thing. If I come to the chart on Sunday night and I see last week was strong bearish candle or strong red candle for the beginners, I know 60 to 80% of the time it's going to pull back, and that pullback is going to be a wick, and it's going to wick up a little bit like this, and then it's going to start turning back around. It's just a pullback on the lower time frame. So I would go down to the lower time frames when it's wicking up, and I would um, catch the trade on that wick, and then it start pulling down and it'll flip back to red, matching what it was last week. And a lot of time it does that. Like, I mean, check it out here. This was a red candle. The next week was red. The next week was red. That was like a month of bearish pressure, and then it was a pullback. It was, you see, if you seen a blue candle here, why the hell would you try to sell when you seen all last week was bullish pressure? That's stupid. So you might as well just catch buys that next week. So this is the same thing. I see that price is going down. I see that this is a lower high right here, and it's under the 50 EMA. I'm looking for sales. So I will come to the chart on Sunday. I would see last week was a strong bearish candle. For the beginners, a strong red candle, right? All I would do is I would go down to the 4 hour, right? I would wait for a legit pullback, not one of those bullshit pullbacks where it's something like this. No, that's not a pullback. I need price to actually come up like this. And once it pulls back, basically making the wick of this week, I'm going to enter on the this week's wick basically. So I'm going to show you exactly what I mean. This is the 4 hour, right? I'm going to wait for a pullback. That's not a legit pullback. That now it's pulling back. This is a legit pullback. I'll wait for a legit pullback, and then I will wait for some kind of bearish pressure to be shown. Like right there, that's a pretty solid bearish candle. But I mean, if it closed where this wick was, I would have definitely entered. But on this one, since it's showing bullish momentum and bullish pressure, but it didn't just close underneath this wick, I would enter once it breaks this wick right here. So again, the weekly showed that last week was bearish, right? It showed a red candle. Most of the time, even on the smaller time frames, whatever the previous candle was, it'll wick off into this, and then it'll continue doing the same thing that the previous candle did. So I'm doing that same thing, but on the weekly. Last week was a red candle, right? Bearish candle. For the beginners, it was a red candle. Most likely this week is probably 60 to 80% of the time going to print me another red candle. And red candle means what? Bearish. So I'm just waiting on a pullback on the smaller time frames so that I can get in on that weekly wick. So right here, It was a legit pullback. This came down. This was all just consolidation and ranging. I don't want any part of that. A legit pullback happened right here, and then a nice. It was a decent bearish candle. It should have. I wish it would have closed underneath this wick, but it didn't. So once it breaks this wick, I would enter the trade, and this is basically the wick of this week. Then I go to 1 to 3. You can go to 1 to 4, whatever. It's a weekly candle, so that's pushing out a lot of pips. Let's just do a 1 to 4. It's pushing out a shit ton of pips, so it should hit a 1 to 4. And booyah, just like that. So let me go back to the weekly so I can explain it to you again. Right here, this was that bearish candle that we saw. And for the beginners, this is call it the red candle. 60 to 80% of the time, whatever the previous candle was, it's just gonna give you a wick before it matches that candle. So all I did was wait for this weekly candle, go down to the 4 hour time frame, wait for a legit pullback, and then wait for some kind of bearish pressure to be shown. And then I enter, and then you can clearly see right here that it was the wick that I entered. You can go to a 1 to 4, you can go for a 1 to 5, all of that because it's the weekly time frame, and the weekly time frame pushes out a shit ton of pips. Then honestly, if you want to even do this, I don't like entering on shit like this, but a lot of people could have done something like this. Entered like on one of these candles after this. Let's see, like after one of these strong bearish candles. It doesn't matter either one of those, and that would have been like a 1 to 7 or something like that. A 1 to 7. But basically, what I'm trying to explain here is, especially when you do it on the weekly candle, it's even stronger. Whatever the previous week was, and you want to swing trade, just wait for a pullback on the smaller time frames, and then once you start to see bearish pressure or bearish momentum, or you go to the 4 hour and see a pullback and then a bearish engulfing, most likely that is just creating this wick. It's most likely just creating this wick right here before it goes back and flips back red to match this candle. And it's really that easy. I mean, it's a lot more to go to it, but that's a tip for you, especially if you want to swing trade and you're doing it like on a weekly or the daily or one of those higher time frames. Do not catch sales until it prints you a reason to catch sales. So if this candle was blue, I mean, yeah, obviously you don't know that it's going to turn around and switch and flip from bullish for these 2 weeks to bearish. You don't know that. Why not just wait for a bearish candle to print? And then this is a bearish engulfing. Why not wait for a reason basically to enter sales? A strong bearish candle right here is telling me that most likely the next week, 2, 3 weeks is going to be bearish pressure and bearish momentum because, I mean, it's the weekly time frame. It's strong as hell. The previous candle was bearish, most likely 60 to, let's just say 50 to 75% of the time. I wouldn't even say 50. Honestly, 60 to 80% of the time, whatever the previous candle was, the next candle most likely is going to be that. It's just going to give you a wick real quick, or a pullback on the smaller time frames that will create that wick, and then you wait till those smaller time frames start to give the pressure matching the previous candle, and then you'll start to see that it's going to be the wick. I'll go back and show you again real quick. All I did was wait for this pullback right here. And then as soon as I seen that candle right there, it wasn't just the best bearish candle, but I would just enter. If I'm not sure about it, if I'm sure, I would just wait for it to break this wick. And as soon as it broke that wick, I would get in the trade. Like I said, there's other things that goes along with it, but that's a good tip. I mean, that really changed my trading once I started waiting for that. And the same thing here. You see red candle, red candle. Like this is a red candle. Most likely it's just gonna wick into that before it flips back red and matches the previous candle. The same thing on the weekly. I knew it was a downtrend, but the previous week before this one was blue. It was a blue candle. It was a bullish candle. So why the hell will I take trades or take sales when it was the previous week was enough bullish momentum to push it up like this, and for the week to close uh, to close bullish? So I'm not taking that. I would just wait a week. I would be patient and just wait a week for this. Basically, is the reason for me to get into sales, and then the week after this candle printed, I would just wait for a pullback on the 4 hour. And if you're a beast like that, you can wait for a pullback on a 30 minute or the 1 hour, or shift the structure, market structure shift on the 30 minute or the 1 hour, and you can get into it. But yeah, it's really that simple, man. There's other things that goes with it, but that's really it.